Gathered as one Ignatian family, as we have every year since 1996, let us begin by remembering in prayer and in song the 8 martyrs from El Salvador, whose lives were taken 23 years ago tonight. Representatives from each of the 9 provinces will present a rose for our murdered friends. Let us pause now to once again hear their story.
On November 11th, 1989, guerrilla forces began their offensive against government troops in San Salvador. On November 13th, military displacement takes place in the zone, which includes the Jesuit University of Central America, or UCA. Commandos of the Atlacantal Battalion trained at the School of the Americas at Fort Benning, Georgia, and are sent to reinforce the zone. At 7 p.m., the commandos searched the Jesuit house.
On November 15th, the military decides to use air power and heavy artillery and plan to assassinate guerrilla leaders. The UCA is cited as the launching point for guerrilla operations. The military meeting ends with a prayer. At 11 p.m., Colonel Benavides, director of the military school, tells his commanders that this is a situation in which it is them or us. We begin with the leaders. The university is within our sector, and Ellacuría is there. You have to eliminate him, and I don't want any witnesses.
At approximately 1:00 a.m. on November 16th, troops make their way to the Jesuit residence. They surround the residence and bang on the doors and windows. Father Ellacuría tells them that he will open the door and they should stop the disturbance. Troops enter, gather 5 of the Jesuits, and herd them outside. The lieutenant they call Satan orders his troops to shoot. Fast, fast, do it fast. Father Ellacuría, Barro, Montes, Moreno, and Lopez are killed instantly. Father Moreno's body is dragged inside.
Meanwhile, in the other wing of the building, Elba Julia Ramos and her daughter Selena, who decided to spend the night at the Jesuit residence for safety, are discovered and shot with 1 bullet each. They do not die immediately, and another soldier shoots them again with his M16. Father Lopez is still alive as he comes into the corridor. He is shot.
The troops gather in front of the chapel and retire from the building, stimulating a shootout with guerrilla forces as they leave. At the gate, they pull up a sign saying, "The FMLN guerrilla forces executed the opposition spies." And we will respond.
Ignacio Martin Barro. On November 16th, 1989, the Salvadoran military murdered Ignacio Martin Barro. He wrote, "This is a society that is more than poor, it is impoverished. A society that is not just divided, it is violently torn apart. It is a society in which the most basic human rights of the majority are structurally and systematically denied. In El Salvador, to demand the satisfaction of the basic needs of the poor majority is in itself a subversive proposition, since it attacks the very basis of the discriminatory system.
Juan Ramon Moreno. On November 16, 1989, the Salvadorian military murdered Juan Ramon Moreno. He wrote, "Love is what brings together whatever can be brought together in our history of non-solidarity, suffering, and frustration, but not in order to leave that history as it is, but to transform it, to make it be what it should be. The real enemy of the God of Jesus is not the atheism that denies God's existence, but far more this idolatry that sacrifices millions of human victims before the altar of power and money."
Selena Ramos. On November 16, 1989, the Salvadoran military murdered Selena Ramos. Selena was a young girl full of life in her first year of high school, and her boyfriend had thought that they might get married soon, depending on what Elba said.
Segundo Montes. On November 16, 1989, the Salvadorian military murdered Segundo Montes Mozo. When asked why he did not leave the country, he responded, "How can we be really free if our brothers and sisters are not free? This is my country, and these people are my people. God's grace does not leave, so neither can we."
Elba Ramos. On November 16, 1989, the Salvadoran military murdered Elba Ramos. At the Theologate, they remembered Elba as an exceptional person, loyal, discreet, intuitive in spotting signs of distress in another's face. Then she would speak poetically, giving advice to the person she thought was down. On the day before she was killed, she washed her best dress, a black one with a pink flower design, for a woman who had taken refuge in the Theologate from the bombing. She was going to give it to her the next day.
Joaquin Lopez y Lopez. On November 16, 1989, the Salvadorian military murdered Joaquin Lopez y Lopez. The only native Salvadorian among the Jesuits, Father Lopez y Lopez had founded a ministry among the poor, which furnished El Salvador with 13 schools, 12 workshops, and 2 health clinics. He campaigned for many years for the foundation of the DCA and served as a general secretary to the faculty there.
Armando Lopez. On November 16, 1989, the Salvadoran military murdered Armando Lopez. A former head of the University of Central America in Managua, Armando was engaged in pastoral work in the farming region of Tierra Virgen. He was known to be a forthright and sympathetic counselor. His parishioners had such affection for him that 25 walked through San Salvador's killing zones to attend his funeral.
Ignacio Curia. On November 16, 1989, the Salvadorian army murdered Ignacio Curia. Father Curia once said, "A Christian university must take into account the gospel preference for the poor, that the university should be present intellectually where it is needed, to provide science for those who have no science, to provide skills to these unskilled, to be a voice for those who have no voice, to give intellectual support for those who do not possess the academic qualifications, to promote and legitimate their rights."
For all who were tortured, disappeared, and those who perished during the Civil War. Let us remember those who were murdered, including Father Rotilio Grande, Archbishop Romero, the thousands of civilians in El Mazote, countless innocent children, religious women and men, including the 4 American church women, and all who died believing in justice and peace.
We leave you with the words of Archbishop Oscar Romero. Let it be clear that no one can kill the voice of justice anymore. I have often been threatened with death. If they kill me, I will rise again in the Salvadorian people. Martyrdom is a grace I do not think I deserve. But if good accepts the sacrifice of my life, may my blood be the seed of freedom and the sign that hope will soon be a reality. A bishop will die, but God's church, which is the people, will never perish.